Legal Edition. I'm your host, Attorney Mary Kay Loyan. Today, we welcome Erik Trojian, Director of Policy at the New York Policy Center of B-Lab, a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping corporations to be the best that they can be. That is by helping them to develop ideas and also help pass legislation. Let's welcome Erik Trojian. Welcome, Erik.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Can you tell us a little bit about B Corp?
Yeah, the concept of the B Corporation was started by B-Lab. We were never, of course, the first creators of the concept. What it is the idea of helping businesses that want to consider society and the environment in addition to profit, giving them the avenue to present these ideas and to collate them together, which formerly was more kind of not as formalized, and I think that's what we've done. And we do this through certifying companies that meet a higher level of social and environmental performance, certifying investor funds that want to invest in these types of companies, and then we've also gone into the policy world of looking at what are the impediments for these companies to move forward and succeed.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the policy?
Sure. So when we started B-Lab about 7 years ago, we started certifying these companies, and we're up to about 950, just under 1,000 companies now. And we started certifying investor funds, the companies that the funds invest in, the manager, and giving them an overall star rating. Well, when we tried to bring the two together, the dilemma that we found was there was a legal impediment for social impact investors and social entrepreneurs to actually work together. And that impediment is that the current corporate law of a traditional corporation mandates that you simply maximize profit only. And we have nothing against that. And profit's good, and profit makes companies succeed. But the dilemma is, I could argue that the concept that you must only consider profit is actually over-regulating the purpose of the corporation. If I can only do one thing, that's not really allowing the free market to function in its own way, especially with entrepreneurs who are coming out with great ideas. So what we saw was how can we alter the current corporate law to allow these companies to function and bring in the investors, because the corporate form is the form that investors want to invest in. Because LLCs, I could do anything I want, but the dilemma is the form that corporations want, that investors want to invest in is the corporate form. So we had to alter that. And so what we created was a thing called the Benefit Corporation. And with a corporate attorney named Bill Clark.
Who was a guest of our show.
Yeah, so Bill was on here. So he came up with the idea, along with others, to figure out ways to consider society and the environment in addition to profit. And we created the new Benefit Corporation model.
Yeah, the Benefit Corporation model has taken off across the country, and it's in, I think last check it was over 20.
Yeah, it's in 20 states. Yeah, 19
states.
States in the District of
20
Columbia.
States, yeah.
We like to give the district its statehood. So.
Yes. Now tell us a little bit about certification. What does certification entail?
Sure. So there are two different concepts between the Benefit Corporation, which is a publicly registered entity.
Correct.
And then there's the privately certified entity called the Certified B Corporation. And those are entities that are certified by B-Lab. Those are for-profit entities. They could be of any business form. They could be an LLC, sole proprietorship, a partnership, or a corporation. And what we do is we have these companies take a test, and we've had well over 15,000 companies look at our what we call the B Impact Assessment, which is this analytical tool to take qualitative activities that a company does and then quantify it so that they can look at the success of the company and what they're actually doing. So they take this test, they have to score an 80 or higher out of 200. It's not a 40% return, but it's a 80 out of possible 200 points. And if you score that, you are eligible to be considered certified if you wish to go further there. A typical company would score maybe around a 40. So these companies are really going above and beyond.
I see. And what kind of items go into this certification? What kind of questions?
Sure. So questions on your employee relations, your community relations, the impact of your product, your supply chain, all of these different things that go beyond profit, we look at and try and quantify.
You quantify it. Now, one of the things that Bill and I had discussed when we did the B Corporation show, Massachusetts was the 11th state to adopt that. And I know there's other states in New England that are coming on board,
Yep.
so can't wait for that.
Yeah.
And he talked about how investors wanted to invest and make an impact. And this is one way to do that, to challenge the corporate mandate and not breach their fiduciary duty, because I know many corporations were afraid to get involved with the public or the community or the employees. And this becoming a benefit corporation takes that away. However, you certify corporations whether or not they are at benefit corporation status legally, whether or not. And I think there's some confusion there. So could you help allay a little of that confusion about what is certification versus the benefit corporation?
Sure. So we'll start with the benefit corporation. So a benefit corporation is considering society and their environment data in their day-to-day activities, and then they must produce an annual benefit report, similar to how you produce your annual financial report.
Right.
So what we didn't want to do is say, this is how you report. We said, let the market decide that, but just simply use a third-party standard for producing that report, similar to how we use the GAAP accounting principles for financials. If we didn't have GAAP, you would call a debit a credit, and I would call it, the opposite. So we would never speak the same language,
Correct.
a similar language. So what we said is, we're not going to mandate a similar language, but what we're going to mandate in this is simply a way that the investor, the consumer, or the potential, or the shareholder, his or herself, can look at the answers, the questions that were asked, look at the answers, and then make, based off of that empirical data, make a determination, has the company considered society and the environment? So what this is, the importance of what we do is that this allows, we produce a third-party standard that's available for free for using, for analyzing your company. So companies can use that for their third-party standard for the annual report, or they can use another one. There's about 13 others that are out there. So there's a plethora of things based off the company's ideology, mission, beliefs, et cetera, and we allow the market forces to determine what they'll use. So that, of course, that was kind of, but our certified B corporation stuff came before the benefit corporation.
Right.
So that's how the certification would be used for benefit corporation status. Now you've got just our certification alone, which companies like LLCs that don't have to use that because they're under contract law and can do anything they wish. This is a method for companies to outreach to their consumers and say, I'm a different type of company. This is why I'm a different type of company. And here's the transparency to show that.
Right. They can distinguish themselves from others, and there's the transparency element as well.
Yes.
Because they report, and it's found online as well on their website.
You can go on our website and you can look at all 950 companies, and you don't just see a bottom line score, you see their questions, you see their answers, you see everything. It's extremely transparent. And that's one of the, I think, really amazing thing of these companies is that here's tons of companies that want to open up and show everybody what they're doing and actually show their competitors. One of the amazing things is we've got, very high competitors against each other that are both certified B corporations, and they're walking hand in hand together because they think that there's enough business out there, so I don't have to worry about that. And let's figure out a better way to run businesses and help the community and the environment and work together.
That's very interesting you say that, because one of my guests, Dr. Terry Malner, came on. He talked about common good investing and common good capitalism. And he told me that the new model is cooperation and not competition. So what you're saying is basically an embodiment of what he has spoken about and written books about.
Absolutely, and it's not the choice for everybody, but I think the other interesting aspect of the benefit corporation is I kind of view it as capitalism in America has been kept in a corral, because remember the need to maximize profit, that fiduciary duty goes all the way to Henry Ford versus the Dodge brothers 100 years ago. And so we've been in this corral of this is what capitalism means in America. And what we've done with the benefit corporation is opened up a new pasture that all these companies can go into, feed on the new grass, and to say, you know what, I have some new ideas. Now that I can consider other factors, I can be innovative. And that's one of the great things about capitalism and free market is that companies think on their own and can react to market forces. And there's tons of market forces out there that are mandating this, and now we have an ability to provide it.
And what's great about it, it goes across the board, whether conservative or liberal.
Absolutely.
I mean, everybody wants to do good, and that's what actually Dr. Malma spoke about. That human nature is to actually do good.
Yeah.
So if you remove some of those impediments, if profit-driven only, you can actually actualize some of those ideas.
Yeah, and in fact, there's some data show that there's 70 million conscious consumers, people that will buy a good or a service at a premium price because of more than the good or service, because of the company's morals and missions. And so if you're a conservative, you might want to buy from a conservative company that has conservative morals and missions, and vice versa. So it's not, as you said, it's not dictated to a particular liberal belief or conservative belief, and that's really exemplified in who's passed the legislation. South Carolina, Louisiana, Arizona, lots of Republican governors have signed it. Same thing here in Massachusetts, lots of Democrats have done it. So I think it's just an idea that people realize that our market was stymied and we've opened it up and allowed new ideas.
Can you tell us a little bit of about your declaration of interdependence?
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah, so again, it goes to that issue of competition versus working together. And the idea that when we have Seventh Generation and Method, both, soap product companies working together. We've got other
Excellent.
Yeah, we've got other companies that are Plum Organics and Happy Baby, the two rival baby food companies, actually working on a Be the Change campaign together, which is
Wonderful.
Which is a new campaign that we've come out with this year, which is all the companies really stepping forward, explaining to the community, to their consumers, what it means to be a B corporation. Before, it was kind of B Lab going out to the businesses and explaining what it was to be a B corporation, and people were excited about it. But now we've got the companies now going out and being evangelical and spreading the word on their own, because they're really excited. Every year we throw our Champions Retreat in the fall, and we get about 300 companies coming in, and they're all working together. It's a 2-day intensive learning, sharing, just good camaraderie of companies that traditionally would not be there. And one of the interesting things is it doesn't have to be a soap company, or a baby food company, a baby food company. It could be a completely different company, but they all have employee issues, the same. They all have supply chain issues, the same, even though they're different products and different services, but they're all working together to say, well, this is how I resolved that issue, and this is how I, did this issue. So it's a great way to be interdependent rather than, against each other.
And one of the things, from what I've read about B certification, it really ferrets out the imposters, those that just rely on their marketing and not really towing the line.
Yeah, and that's kind of, one of the big things I get when I'm testifying before particular legislatures. There's a lot of senators and representatives that say, well, what do you mean that companies can't do this, can't consider society and the environment? I see it all the time. And what they're unfortunately seeing most of the time, and not saying that all companies are bad, and a lot of them are good, and a lot of them are trying to do good, is that what they're seeing is good marketing. And what we say is the difference between good marketing and good business. And so by opening up that veil, being very transparent on what the company does, the consumer can see that. Again, 70 million consumers that want to be conscious of what they buy and how they buy it. And so, and in fact, the numbers show that there's well over 150,000 companies out there that think in this manner. So there's, our 1,000 is just a small little drop in the bucket of what's actually out there. And we're just part of the greater movement to kind of put a frame around it and help spread the word.
I think if people have an idea who some of these companies are, I think they'll be able to relate to it more, like Greyston Bakery.
Yeah,
they're a great company out of, I believe it's out of New York.
Yeah, out of Yonkers, New York. They were the first company to become a benefit corporation in New York. They produced the brownies for Ben & Jerry's ice cream. So it's something that people might not know the name Greyston, but they sure know Ben & Jerry's ice cream with brownies in it. But they do great things, like they have a open employment policy. You walk in, you want a job, you put your name on the list. When your name comes up, you're offered a job. They get a lot of ex-felons that seek employment because they can't find stuff elsewhere. A very difficult issue. One of the issues of recidivism is the fact that you can't get a job.
Exactly.
So not only are they providing this job for people that were previously incarcerated or people that were just down on their luck, but also provide the skills they need to maintain that job and be functional people in society and be productive people in society. So here, I'm going to hopefully get their motto right. We don't employ people to bake brownies. We bake brownies to employ people, which is just, again, another flip of what is a common statement, and it just makes a world of difference.
Working for the common good.
Yeah.
And by becoming a benefit corporation, that impediment is gone, that they can actually do all these things and not worry about, the bottom line.
Yep.
Although the bottom line is always involved here.
Absolutely.
These companies are profitable. I
Yep.
want to make sure that, we make that clear.
Yep.
But they include people, planet, and profits,
Yep.
and the environment. And their packaging they take into consideration, so they reduce their carbon footprint. And I think it's great.
And I think, one of the interesting things is these companies they're not similar. They're very different in how they try to do this. For example, some companies like Greyston, they're producing a product, but their real mission is to help the workers and to provide good workplace. So where you've got another company that might be producing a product and is not as concerned about helping a particular workforce thing, but want to not harm while they're actually trying to make money. So you've got companies that are probably closer to a nonprofit, and then you got ones that are fully head over heels into capitalism. And the common thread is that they're trying to produce a certain mission, but that mission varies greatly between the companies.
Right. And I think if more people can see what these missions are, I think they'll be more in tune to either want to be a B corporation or patronize a B corporation.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. I remember, this is a funny thing that happened to us. We were, my son and my daughter were walking through the supermarket, and my daughter asked me for some ice cream. And I said, no, honey, you had your dessert today. We don't want an ice cream. Well, can I get Ben & Jerry's? They're a B corporation. And of course we bought Ben & Jerry's ice cream. So, but she knew how to do it. And that's, an 8-year-old daughter who's getting it, because that's what I say to my son. We've screwed up the world for you. We want to try and at least hand it off where you can start to fix it. And so that's, kind of my personal stake in this.
Well, one of my other guests was talking about impact investing and impact, and that's basically what he was talking about. We can't really, it's for the future. We have to think for the future. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
If more people thought that way, I think society would be a little better today. We'd be a little further ahead.
Yeah, because we're still buying these products. It's not like we're going to stop buying goods or services. And I get that quite a bit from people. Well, one day every company is going to be a benefit corporation. No, they're not at all. Because, we have a diverse income in our country, and not everybody can pay a premium price if there is a premium price applied to a particular type of company that has a mission. And there's not always that way, but people are going to be concerned oftentimes for the cheapest product rather than the best product, and that's perfectly fine. That's the world we live in. It takes all that to make a capitalist society work. So it won't be everything, but it will be some companies.
Now, tell us a little bit more about B Analytics.
Sure. So our B impact assessment is the test that the company takes. The test that they have 200 possible points and must score at least 80 on. So that is a very rigorous process. And so what we found was when we were trying to help investment funds analyze their investments, and that's called GEARS, G-I-I-R-S, and that helps analyze the fund and its fund manager and the companies there, and they don't necessarily have to score an 80. It's just a way to show you what the fund does. Well, that we found was kind of limited because we had very regimented things. Either you use our B impact assessment for certification, or you use the GEARS for the investors. What we found is there was actually a demand out there to say, you know what, you've got a lot of good stuff in those 200 points, but really all I'm concerned about is those 50 points in this category, employees, suppliers, whatever, that I want to focus that on my particular private companies. And this could be foundations or investment funds. And so we've taken this great analytical tool and segmented it into little departments so that these funds, these foundations, et cetera, can use it for their private purposes to analyze the impact of their activities. And so it's a more kind of self-built one for each particular company.
So you build it for each particular company?
Absolutely. Yeah,
I see.
absolutely. And depending on their needs, we can actually amplify it more than the B impact assessment, which the B impact assessment is extremely rigorous. Which one of the interesting things that we hear from a lot of companies, again, we've had 15,000 companies use our B impact assessment, but only 1,000 become certified B corporations. But the one statement we get from everybody is, you really put a light on my company, issues that I didn't know about. In fact, I often tell people to go onto our website, take the B impact assessment for companies that you want to eventually start. If you're starting a business plan, pretend you're 6 months, because you can't be certified, you have to wait 6 months to be certified. Pretend you're 6 months, a year out, and what you thought your company and how it was going to act and operate, see if it actually, pencils out to be that at the end. And so it's a great way for people to see about how they would run a company, et cetera, et cetera. So it's quite a rigorous program.
Now, is that something new that you've added, the B analytics, or was that there all along?
No, it's brand new. I would say just a few months old, actually. Again, we saw that we had these two great components between Gears and the B impact assessment, but there was also a greater need for portions of that, or even customized versions of it. We're working a little bit on a higher ed analysis of that, which is just getting started, so that can be added on. That might not be put to our B impact assessment, because not every company is actually in the higher ed world, but it'd be a great place for the B analytics.
Yeah, because I thought I had read that you have the largest database of private information on corporations, or could you elaborate a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, I don't know if it's the largest, but it's a huge database of these social entrepreneurs. And we're starting to work with a lot of universities. We're working with Duke University. We provide them the information. They help distribute that to the academics out there. But it's a great database of companies that think this way, and to see how they operate. Like, I know that from that data, we know through our certified B corporations that they donate 10 times more than the market average to nonprofits. And these are, great data to know, what does this sector of the economy, how does it impact the economy, and what is its impact there?
Now, getting back to Ben & Jerry's, they're a great model. One of the things that strikes me as really important with this particular corporation is that it was bought, and the mission has been maintained.
Right.
Unilever has done a fantastic job with that and has maintained it. In fact, Dr. Molnar, who was a guest of mine, is on the board of directors, and he talked about that. And I think if that can continue to happen as companies evolve, and that the larger corporations that buy them out carry on that mission, will be much further ahead.
And another great example is Campbell's, the soup company, bought Plum Organics, which became a benefit corporation in Delaware. On the first day, they're a certified B corporation. So again, extending out to wanting to do good, as well as knowing that there's, again, 70 million conscious consumers out there. So it's a combination of both market-driven and also mission-driven. So it's a great combination.
And for those people that don't know, it's people, planet, profits, environment. And in the old business model, it was always profit-driven.
Profit
only. Because the shareholders would be upset if there was anything else. But today's modern-day shareholder understands that the model that maybe in our grandparents' generation is not really the model, a progressive model. And to sustain our planet and to sustain our workforce, and with varying degrees of educational backgrounds, we need to be progressive.
And actually, I would suggest that it doesn't even go back to our grandparents' time of when companies were only thinking of profit. I even think, and there's a lot of numbers that actually show it goes back to even 1981. People even point to certain speeches. And I know that President Clinton had made a comment that about 30 years ago, the tide really changed, because if we look back at the original conception of a corporation, they were specifically created to do a task, to be a railroad, to do this, do that. And then you would also get, Henry Ford, who wanted to be good to his workers. People can argue that that's, it was simply to give them money to buy this product or what. But we noticed a change about 30 years ago where it's purely profit driven.
Yes.
And one of the interesting things when we were working on the Delaware legislation, and we had some investors in the room talking with other parties that were involved in the negotiations, they said, right now I am a social impact investor and I have a lot of money into these companies, but I have no rights. I don't want to sue them for not maximizing profit, because that wasn't my intention of my investment. My intention of my investment is to make money, but also to have an impact on society and the environment. So for the social impact investors, not only were we protecting the directors from being sued for not maximizing profit, but we're also protecting the shareholder who purposely puts his or her money in a company with the desire to have an impact on society and the environment. And now they can actually sue the company for a private right of action, non-monetary relief, but injunctive relief to say, you need to get back on track. You're not doing this. I looked at your annual report and you're not on track. So it's a win-win both for the director and the shareholder, because now we have a legally binding agreement.
Exactly.
That they'll work together.
Exactly, and that's why the benefit report is so important.
Yes.
And the benefit director and the benefit crew put together that report so that it can be transparent for everyone to see. I know I've been involved in that, so
and each state's a little different. Some states don't have a benefit director, but here in Massachusetts they do, which it's a really nice thing to have. It adds that extra layer of monitoring a new thing. I knew one of the comments that a lot of people had is, well, how could a company ever run this way? This is completely different. And it's like, well, people will figure it out, because if this is their mission, they know how to run it that way. And the added benefit of having that benefit director is that he or she can focus their attention on that. Just like the chief technology officer, he or she might not be concerned about an issue non-technology related, but the benefit director is focused on that, can focus his or her attention. They put their narrative into the report on how that came out, and you've got a clearer view of it all.
and help guide the company as well.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, any final thoughts?
No, I think, one of the interesting things that I'd love to see here in Massachusetts is that they are growing the benefit corporation. I know when we were broached by different people in the legislature and the governor's office of his economic development office, was to look at how we could get this passed here. We got it through very quickly, and I think it's really helped Massachusetts. There's now, I think, around 50 to 60 companies. A lot of them are in the high-tech arena, which is great because, boom, those high-tech companies take off and they grow so quickly.
And it's global, too, now.
Yeah, and it's just great that Massachusetts is seeing a great result of what's happening. New Hampshire is moving forward on this legislation as well, and so is Connecticut. So New England is really taking charge of all this.
And, of course, Pennsylvania and New York.
Oh, yeah.
And other states as well.
Oh, yeah, quite a bit.
Well, this has been quite enlightening.
Yeah, thank you.
I want to thank you for coming and for sharing the information you have.
Yeah.
It's been fantastic. And I want to thank you, our viewers, for tuning in to the Legal Edition. And please remember, this information is for educational purposes only. It's not to be construed as legal or business advice. And please seek the guidance of your own professional of your choosing. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Please check out our website at www.thelegaledition.com for more information. And we look forward to seeing you again on the Legal Edition.